This week on World Traveler Cooking, we're going to make kroppkakor. I'm still probably mangling the pronunciation, but that's the best I can do. Swedish phonetics is hard. These are yet another Swedish potato dumpling, different from pitapalt. Pitapalt is made with raw potatoes. This is made with cooked potatoes. These are then stuffed with pork filling that's spiced. And we're going to go ahead and make this today. It should be pretty easy, and I think you'll enjoy it. So, for our ingredients, we have half a kilogram or about 1 pound of mealy potatoes, so you could use like a russet or something if you're in the US. I have about 1/8 of a liter, or let's see, if 1/4 of a liter is about a cup, then 1/8 of a liter would be about half a cup of flour. I have 75 grams of sliced pork belly. And sometimes they'll use like a salted pork belly, but I can't find that here, so I'm just going to add a little bit of extra salt as I cook it. To this, we will season it with white pepper. I will crush a bit of allspice and add it. And we'll use a small onion. Like this is, what, golf ball size? Probably no more than 50 grams. And basically that's it. Let's go ahead and get started. So while our potatoes are boiling, and note, I'm doing it with the skins on. Most people in Sweden do it without the skins on. They peel first. But I'm going to put my pork in a pan, and I'm going to heat it up. I'm starting with a cold pan to help the fat render a little better. But we're going to brown the pork, and then we will add the finely chopped onion, and then we will add these spices. So I'm going to crush maybe 2 allspice pieces. If you have some ground allspice, you can just simply use maybe a 1/4 teaspoon or so. So, yeah. I'll be back once this is frying. Since this is not salted pork, I'm just going to add some salt. And let the meat soak it up. Here we are. Now in come the onions. And now in come our spices. So here is the allspice. And we're going to take just a pinch of white pepper. And then we're going to stir this all together. And note, if this gets too dry, you could add a little bit of oil. But pork belly should render enough oil out of this for it to be okay. So we're going to go ahead and just cook this for a bit. And I'll be back when it's done cooking. Now that it's done cooking, I'm going to move it onto a plate and take it off the heat. So one of the reasons I actually prefer to boil the potatoes with the skins on is that the peels, after they're done, come off really easily. Of course, the potatoes are hot, so they're a little harder to handle, but you can see how easily the peel comes off here. So I'm going to peel all these potatoes. They're very soft now, and then I can run them through the ricer. You could also mash them with by hand, or use like electric beaters. Those also work. But if you don't have a potato ricer, you should get one. Honestly, they are really, really, really useful in the kitchen. So, to make the dough, we're going to run our potatoes through the ricer. Again, you could mash with a fork, or use an electric mixer, or a potato masher. Those all work, but nothing is quite as simple or efficient as a ricer. Or as it's sometimes called, a potato press, or also sometimes called a puree press. You can see that's all it takes to mash the potatoes. And now we're going to add a bit of salt, about half a teaspoon. We will add our small to medium egg. You can use a large egg if you have to. And our flour. Then we're going to mix this all together. You don't want to touch it too much at this point. I would expect if you did, it would end up getting super, super sticky. But we're going to mix this until this is pretty well mixed. And like all potato dumplings, if it's sticking to our hands, we can always use water on our hands to prevent it from sticking. At any rate, this is almost done. Yeah, here we are. So the idea is that this should make about 6 dumplings, so 3 per person. Now I'm making 2 portions here, but I'm going to save one of them and boil them tomorrow. So I'm going to divide this in half. Divide each half into thirds, and then we'll start forming the dumplings. Alright, so I have made these now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a depression in the middle, and I'm not going to put too much in, just a bit. Maybe a little more. And then I'm going to close these over. Then we will make round but somewhat fat buns, and we'll set these on this here. So I have 3 pieces here, so I'm going to do the same thing with each of them. And as it starts to stick to my fingers, I'm just going to get water on my fingers. And as always, we do need to seal these, because if they're not sealed, then the boiling water will get right into the filling and the whole thing will kind of disintegrate. So now that the water is boiling, I've had a change of plans. I'm just going to make the ones for tomorrow while these are boiling. I'm going to drop these in the boiling water. And I will be removing them with a slotted spoon when we're ready to serve them in about 12 minutes. Basically, after they've risen to the top and they've been floating for about 5 minutes, similar to seppelini in that regard. So now these are ready. So I've layered the lingonberry at the bottom. Now I'm going to take these out, and I'm going to put each one of these on top of a big spoonful of lingonberry. I'm going to set some butter in here to melt. I have naturally preheated the glass a little bit so it won't break. And then I'm going to garnish this. First with the butter, and then secondly with some sort of herbs. So I'm going to drizzle the butter on the top. There are a few little patches, that's fine. And then I'm going to just take a couple of these lovage leaves and just set them around for decor. And now for the taste test. This is absolutely delicious. I really, really like this combination. The lingonberries, the pork, the potatoes. This is awesome. You gotta try this. Now, if you find this content interesting, I hope I've earned a like and a subscription from you. And please feel free to click on the subscription drop down and select all notifications so you'll be notified when I produce a new video. I also have a Patreon account, which is linked to in the description, and whether or not you feel compelled to support my work. I would note that I put a lot of food blog items there when there's no paywall for any of those, so you should check it out. I do appreciate support there, but I try to make sure that what I do is useful to everybody, regardless of whether or not they purchase a subscription. Also, if you see something you think I should do differently or you think other cooks should be aware of, feel free to leave that information in the comments. That also builds value so that other people making this dish can learn from what you say as well. We should think about cooking as something which we learn from each other, not something which is ego-based in that way. At any rate, recipes in the description. Bon appetit, and see you next week.